Dream of the Red Chamber, Chapter 31.
Okay, so let's just lay out the arc of the day. It's the Duanwu Festival, the Dragon Boat Festival, which should be this vibrant, happy celebration. But instead, it kicks off with a secret health scare that leads to this silent, really heavy feast where everyone is just mirroring each other's misery. And then it all culminates in this devastating fight among the servants that just rips the mask right off their whole status hierarchy. So the day starts, as you said, with a real medical emergency. It involves Yurin, who's one of Baoyu's most important maids. She suddenly coughs up fresh blood, bright red blood. It's a visceral, terrifying sign of a serious illness. And her immediate fear is wrapped up in this old saying, that spitting blood when you're young means you'll have a short or a crippled life.
Yes, but what's so fascinating is the pivot she makes in her head. Instantly. Her concern isn't just about, am I going to die? It's about the total crushing loss of her ambitions. The text says her desire for striving for honor and glory, that hope of rising up, maybe becoming a concubine, it's just gone in a second. If she's sick, if she's seen as useless, her whole life plan is over.
And Baoyu, of course, sees this and just goes into a complete panic. He wants to find a cure right now. He's ready to call for remedies, make a huge scene, and, potentially expose the whole thing to the entire household.
But Shirin puts politics first, before her own health. She stops him, cold. She tells him, no, wait until morning. Send a boy to secretly see Dr. Wang. And why? Because she understands the architecture of this house is built on rumor. She basically tells him that a big fuss right now would start gossip, it would create suspicion, and that would be a huge scandal for both of them. It would just destroy her legitimacy.
So the physical risk is actually less important than the social risk. She'd rather risk her health getting worse than risk the gossip that could completely wipe out her social standing. It's a really chilling calculation, isn't it? It shows she has a much, much better grasp of the house's politics than he does.
Oh, absolutely. She's the one managing the crisis here. She tells them they have to handle this, unbeknownst to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And Baoyu, surprisingly, he actually listens to her. Yeah. He doesn't push it. He just settles down and takes care of her quietly until morning. So the immediate health scare is, it's contained. But that social illness, the fear of being exposed, that's still simmering right under the surface as they head into the festival.
Right. So from that really intense private moment, we move to the public stage, the Duanwu Festival. The house looks the part. It's decorated beautifully, rush and mugwort over the doors, tiger talismans on their arms. It looks like a party. But the celebratory lunch hosted by Madame Wang is, well, to put it mildly, a miserable flop.
It's a perfect example of what happens when external expectations just clash with internal reality.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is gloomy, they're listless, but they have to be there. And you can trace this tension back to very specific things that just happened. Madame Wang is clearly not happy, probably still thinking about that incident with Jin Xuan from the day before, which involved Baoyu.
And since Madame Wang is basically the emotional barometer of the room, her mood sets the tone. Baoyu knows he's also in trouble with Bao Chai, who he offended, so he's gloomy.
Okay.
And this is where the chain reaction really starts.
Exactly. Dayu sees Baoyu as miserable, and she immediately thinks it's about his issues with Bao Chai, so she becomes listless. And then there's Lady Feng, who's always watching, always managing. She sees Madame Wang's mood, and so she pulls back. She stays quiet and subdued.
It's this group dynamic where everyone is just amplifying everyone else's misery. It's a feedback loop of dread. Nobody is actually having a good time, but nobody dares to break the silence because that might, draw attention to how unhappy everyone really is.
So the forced party just fizzles out. There's no energy, no interest. They sit there for a little while and then just scatter, feeling more drained than they did when they arrived. And Baoyu goes home just incredibly moody. The gathering just made him feel more alone.
This whole atmosphere of dread and separation leads us perfectly into this really crucial philosophical moment with Dayu. She seems to be the only one who really doesn't mind that the party fell apart.
Well, this is such a remarkable insight into her character, isn't it? She has this idea that she likes scattering, dislikes gathering. Most people want community, but she finds her comfort in solitude.
And when you actually break down her logic, it makes a certain kind of tragic sense. She argues that any gathering is temporary by nature, so it only exists to set up the pain of eventual separation, which creates sorrow. So why even bother gathering in the first place?
Right. She uses that beautiful analogy of flowers. It's better that they never bloom at all than to cause all that sadness when they have to fade. I mean, by rejecting the joy of the moment, she's trying to protect herself from the pain of loss later on. It's a brilliant, if sad, defense mechanism.
And this is in such a sharp, direct contrast with Baoyu's whole personality. He wants the flowers to bloom forever. He just wants everyone to be together all the time, and he absolutely dreads separation.
And that contrast is everything. Baoyu is so miserable because his deepest wish for permanence just got shattered by the feast ending. He's fundamentally wired to mourn separation. And that's exactly why he's so miserable when he gets back to his room, sighing and brooding.
Yeah.
He's just lived through a perfect example of Daiyu's sad philosophy in action.
So if that's his baseline state, this dread of things ending, what happens when something is actually physically destroyed in front of him? And that brings us to the fan.
Right. The trigger for the main event is so small, it's almost funny. Kingwen comes into the room and she accidentally drops a fan. One of its little sticks breaks. That's it.
And all that internal pressure Baoyu's been feeling, the secret about Jiren's illness, the awful festival, that anxiety that everything falls apart, it just explodes over this tiny object. He calls her a stupid fool, and then he immediately makes it a bigger issue. He says it's not just about the fan, it's about her not having any foresight, how she could never manage a household. It's more than just criticism, isn't it? It's an attack on her competence, on her entire future in the house. You know, just like Jiren was terrified that her health would ruin her own ambitions, the fan is just a stand-in for his own feeling of powerlessness.
And Kingwen's reaction is just astonishing. She's completely defiant. She doesn't apologize, which would be the normal thing for a maid to do. No, she launches this sharp, aggressive counterattack. She accuses him of having a huge temper and of just looking for something to be angry about. She knows exactly how to get under his skin.
She immediately minimizes the fan. She points out that they've broken way more valuable things before, like glass jars and agate bowls, and he never cared then. She knows this rage isn't really about the fan.
And then she hits the nuclear button. She tells him to fire her. She says, if you don't like me, just get rid of me. Let's part nicely. She's challenging the very foundation of her position in the household.
That's the real danger. She's taking his philosophical dread of separation and making it a real immediate threat. And Baoyu, who is now, just shaking with rage, he throws the one thing back at her that he knows is devastating. He says, "Don't worry, there will certainly be a day when we separate." He confirms his own worst fear out loud.
And the whole dynamic of the fight just shifts in an instant. When Jiren hears the noise and rushes over to play mediator, she tries to de-escalate, saying how conflict always seems to happen when she's not around.
But Kingwen is not backing down. She turns her sarcasm away from Baoyu, her master, and aims it directly at her rival, Jiren. So the argument shifts from master and servant to this brutal maid-on-maid rivalry over status.
She uses Jiren's own loyalty against her. She sarcastically says that all of Jiren's good service just ended with her getting hit by Baoyu the day before. She's basically saying, your way of serving doesn't even keep you safe, so why should I follow your example?
And then we get to the real flashpoint, the linguistic one. Jiren tries to smooth things over by apologizing, and she says, it was our fault. She used the word we. She's signaling her partnership with Baoyu, basically claiming that higher status of, the unofficial young mistress.
And Kingwen just completely explodes over that one word, we. This is the crux of the chapter's politics. Kingwen brutally accuses Jiren of doing sneaky, secretive things, which is a clear reference to their intimacy, and then delivers the ultimate reality check. She tells her, you haven't actually earned the rank of young mistress yet, so you have no right to use the word we. She just publicly shames her.
It's such an aggressive, targeted hit. It exposes the very ambition that Jiren was trying to protect by keeping her illness a secret. And Baoyu, trying to defend Jiren, he just doubles down on the threat. He says, I'll make sure I elevate your position tomorrow.
Which Jiren knows will only make everything a million times worse. She tries to pull him away, telling him to calm down, but he's way past that. He threatens to go to Madame Wang and have Kingwen thrown out of the house for good.
And dismissal is, it's exile. It's ruin for a maid in this world. Kingwen, now she's crying, said she'd rather kill herself than leave. But Baoyu just insists he's going to report her.
And that's when we hit the real climax of the scene. Jiren realizes she can't physically stop him from doing something that will ruin them all, so she uses the only move she has left.
Yeah.
The ultimate act of supplication. She kneels down dramatically.
And the power of that image is just immediate. All the other maids who've been watching in silence, Bihuan, Kiwen, Mustit, they rush in and they all kneel down too. And that collective action forces Baoyu to stop. He just can't stand the sight of all of them kneeling to him.
So he stops.
Yeah.
But he's internally crushed. He sits down, heartbroken, weeping. because he feels like even though he won, he's completely misunderstood. He thinks to himself, this heart has been crushed and no one knows it. The emotional price of keeping this fragile order has just been paid in full.
So the air in the room is just impossibly thick. There's tears, there's shame, there's this deep despair. And into this vacuum walks Baoyu. And this is where we finally get that crucial emotional release.
Her timing is just perfect because she walks in and immediately trivializes the whole thing. She jokes that the fight must have been about who got to eat more rice dumplings.
Yeah.
It just completely deflates the political and emotional drama, and it lets everyone, including us, finally take a breath.
And she so expertly uses playful teasing, especially with Surin. She keeps calling her good sister-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
She's using the exact title Shirin wants to earn, but she's doing it in this gentle, joking way that actually helps repair some of the damage that Kingwen did with her earlier attack.
Right. And when Shirin says she'd rather just die to get away from all the drama, Baoyu matches her dark humor perfectly. She jokes back that she'd cry herself to death first. It's this shared language of cynicism that only the two of them really get.
And Baoyu, who's now finally recovering from his meltdown, he joins in on their old familiar banter. He says, "If you died, I would become a monk."
And this brings us right back full circle to their special relationship. Baoyu just smiles, holds up two fingers, and reminds him that she's keeping a running tally of all the times he's promised to become a monk for her. It's this beautifully light, stabilizing moment. It shows their unique, deep bond, that despite all the political chaos swirling around them, they have this private connection that can just absorb the storm. Okay, let's shift scenes. Baoyu, he's coming back from a dinner party.
And the text makes a point of saying he's tipsy.
Right. A little drunk. And he wanders into his courtyard and sees someone asleep on a summer couch.
And, his first thought is that it must be Zirin, his favorite maid. She's been injured, so he's worried about her.
So he goes over, very gently,
Yeah.
and asks her if her pain is any better. It's supposed to be this, tender moment.
It's not Zirin.
No. It's Kingwen, who is, let's just say, not in a good mood.
Not at all. She's already volatile on a good day, but she had a fight earlier because she accidentally broke a fan and she's still stewing about it.
So his gentle push does not get a gentle reaction.
Not even close. She's instantly prickly. He suggests they go bathe together, which is apparently a normal, intimate thing for them.
And she just shuts him down.
Oh, completely. She says something like, "I don't deserve to bathe with a master like you." It's pure sarcasm.
She's throwing his status right back at his face.
She is. She's drawing a line. And what's so brilliant is how she uses his own past behavior against him.
Right, he keeps pushing about the bath, and that's when she brings up the story of the bitchin' bath.
Yes.
I was just floored by this detail. Can you tell us about that anecdote?
So she recalls this time when another maid, Bitchin, helped him with a bath. And it wasn't, a quick wash. It took 2 to 3 hours.
2 to 3 hours.
An incredibly long time. And apparently they used so much water that when they were done, the entire floor was flooded. The water was literally covering the legs of the bed.
That is the level of waste is unbelievable. The labor involved in that.
Exactly. Think about keeping that water warm for 3 hours. And then the cleanup. It's a perfect little story to show his complete detachment from reality.
From the concept of work or resources.
For them, it's just Tuesday. For Kingwen, who just got in trouble for breaking one fan, it's proof that the rules are completely different for him.
And this whole mood, this resentment, it sets up the core idea of the chapter.
It really does.
Yeah.
Because Baoyu sees she's upset about the fan, and instead of just saying, "Don't worry," he launches into this whole philosophy of destruction.
He redefines what it means to love objects, Aiwu.
Right, which is a big deal. Traditionally, Aiwu is about respecting things. Confucian style, you take care of your property.
Baoyu turns that completely on its head.
He does. He basically says, look, all these things, fans, cups, whatever, they're borrowed. We borrow them for our own enjoyment.
And if that enjoyment comes from the sound of it breaking,
then that's perfectly fine. He says if you love the sound of a fan tearing, you should tear it.
Okay, but there's a catch, isn't there? There's a rule.
A very important one, yes. The intention is everything. You can destroy something for pleasure, for the aesthetic experience, but you can't do it out of anger or spite.
So tearing a fan because you like the shh sound is good.
That's pure appreciation.
Smashing a teacup because you're mad at someone is bad.
That's wicked.
I have to say, that sounds like a very convenient philosophy for someone who can afford to replace anything he breaks.
Well, of course it is. It's both, I think. He probably genuinely believes it. This kind of Zen detachment feels right for his character, but it's also absolutely the ultimate rationalization of privilege.
I'm so rich I can define destruction as a virtue.
Exactly that.
And Kingwin, being Kingwin, immediately puts this to the test.
Oh, instantly. She says, I love that sound, and demands a fan.
She tears hers, and the book describes the sound she.
And she keeps going. And Baoyu is just delighted his philosophy worked.
So he eggs her on. He doesn't just let her tear her own.
No, he grabs a fan from another maid, Mushin, and just hands it to her. Here, tear this one too.
It's become a performance.
A spectacle, and he justifies it with that classic line, 1,000 pieces of gold are hard to buy a single laugh.
Her momentary joy is worth more than the cost of the fans.
It's the perfect summary of his worldview. Emotion over material.
And then there's that tiny detail at the end of the scene that just drives the whole point home.
Ah, yes.
Another servant, Jia Wu, is the one who comes in to clean up all the pieces.
Their pleasure becomes his labor. It's a perfect, quiet little condemnation of the whole affair.
Okay, let's shift scenes. We're leaving the philosophical chaos of Baoyu's courtyard.
And we're moving to the social center of the house, Jiamu's rooms.
This is where the matriarch is. All the ladies are there. Wang Furen, Bao Chai, Dai Yu. And who should arrive but Qi Xiangyun?
The most energetic and probably the most beloved of all the cousins. She's shown up with her luggage, ready to stay for a few days.
And the way she's introduced is just brilliant. It's not a description, it's a series of anecdotes told by the other women.
Which perfectly establishes her as the quintessential tomboy. She's a force of nature.
Wang Furen tells the first story, right?
From the year before, Zhang Yin decided to put on Baoyu's entire outfit.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. Robe, boots, headscarf, everything. And she goes to see Jiamu.
And the grandmother is completely fooled. She thinks it's Baoyu.
Totally. She's calling her Baoyu and telling her to come closer. The only reason the game is up is because everyone else just starts cracking up.
And what's that amazing detail Wang Furen adds?
It's so good. She says the only difference was that she just had 2 more pendants.
It's so specific and so funny. It tells you everything about her lack of feminine performance.
And then, as if that's not enough, Dayu chimes in with an even better story.
This one is from a couple years back, in the winter.
Yes. So it's snowing, and Jinian gets her hands on Jiamu's brand new, massive, bright red wool cloak.
A ridiculously expensive item, a huge status symbol.
Oh, absolutely. And she wraps it around herself, ties it with a sash, and just runs outside to go play in the snow with the maids.
And you can guess what happens next.
Of course. She falls right into a ditch,
Understand?
covered in mud and freezing water, the priceless new cloak, totally ruined.
It's the same kind of material disregard as Baoyu, isn't it? But his is philosophical and hers is just pure physical energy.
Exactly. She's just so full of life, she can't be contained by social rules or, the value of things.
And the others confirm it. Ying Chun says she even talks and giggles in her sleep.
She never stops. And Wang Furen adds that this is all happening while they're actively trying to arrange a marriage for her. She has a mother-in-law's house in sight.
So this tomboy energy is a bit of a liability.
A huge one. It's the opposite of the ideal, quiet, composed bride.
But just when you think she's all chaos, the chapter shows us another side of her.
A surprisingly organized one.
It's about the gifts she brought. She's got these 4 rings.
Right. 4 crimson-veined stone rings. And they're not for the ladies. They're for 4 specific high-ranking maids.
Shirin, Yuan Yang, Jun Xuan, and Pinger. The top tier.
Which shows she understands the household power structure.
But Dayu immediately teases her about it, calls her muddled for not just sending them with a messenger earlier.
She's basically saying, why go to all this extra trouble?
And Jiang Yin's defense is it's incredibly logical in detail.
It's amazing. She lays it all out. She says, look, sending gifts to you ladies is easy. Everyone knows your names.
Right.
But if she gave 4 small, basically identical rings to a young male servant, a Shaozi,
You'd get them mixed up.
100%. He wouldn't know which ring was for which of the 4 maids. It would cause confusion, maybe even insult someone.
So she brought them herself to ensure, what's the phrase?
Cleanliness and clarity? Ping by, to make sure it was done properly and respectfully.
And the older women, they get it immediately.
Yep. They concede her logic is truly clear. The tomboy who falls in ditches is actually the sharpest logistical thinker in the room.
It's a fantastic reveal of our character's depth.
It really is.
But then, of course, this nice moment has to be complicated. Baoyu joins the conversation.
And he says something totally innocent. He just compliments her, says she's still so articulate.
And that's all it takes to set off Lin Dayu.
Instantly. her jealousy and insecurity just flare up.
And she says one of the most famous and, frankly, coldest lines in the whole book, but she says it quietly.
So quietly that only Baoyu and Baochai can hear her. She says, he won't talk, but his golden quillin will talk.
Chilling. Baoyu knows immediately he's messed up. His simple compliment has caused this huge emotional ripple.
And Baochai's reaction is just as telling. No big drama, just a faint, knowing smile before she moves away.
That faint smile, it says everything, doesn't it? It's like this silent acknowledgement of the whole complicated web they're in. Okay, let's shift scenes. The young noblewoman, Shi Qianqian, is wandering around in the Grandview Garden.
She's sort of doing her social rounds, heading over to the Happy Red Court to see her friend.
But she does something interesting. She tells her whole entourage to stay behind. Everyone except for one maid, Kui Lu.
And that's a classic narrative trick, isn't it? The author is creating a private space. He's clearing the stage for a conversation that's a little too deep for a crowd.
And the trigger for this massive philosophical discourse is almost laughably simple.
It really is. They're just looking at lotus flowers.
Yeah, Kui Lu makes a comment, just small talk, saying the flowers here aren't quite as nice as the ones they have back home.
And that's all it takes. Shang Yun immediately jumps in and elevates it. She brings up the concept of qi.
Right, the vital energy.
Exactly. She says plants are just like people. They need sufficient qi to really thrive.
So qi is the fuel, the raw energy that makes things happen. She's already setting the stage for something bigger.
She is. But it's Kui Lu, her maid, who really forces the issue. She takes that analogy. Plants are like people, so literally.
She does. She asks, well, if they're the same, why haven't I ever seen a person with two heads?
It's such a brilliant question because it shows she can only think in concrete physical terms. She doesn't get the abstract energy flow.
And that forces Jiang Yin to break it all down. She just laughs and then delivers this staggering assertion.
She says everything in the universe, and she means everything. Good, evil, strange, normal. It all comes from the flow of yin and yang.
Wait, so good and evil just emerge from the same source. It's not like one is innately good and one is bad.
That's the implication. It suggests a world that's less about fixed morality and more about, balance and flow, which is a huge idea to just drop in here.
It really is. And this brings us to the absolute core of the lesson, the part that's so often misunderstood.
Yes. Kui Lu hears yin and yang and thinks it's two separate things, like two opposing teams.
Which is how most of us think of it, right?
It is. But Xiang Yin corrects her with this incredible line. She says the terms yin and yang are still only one character.
One character. So not a duality, it's a unity.
A cyclical unity, that's the key. She explains that when yang is used up, it doesn't just vanish, it becomes yin.
And when yin is exhausted, it transforms into yang.
Precisely. It's one system, one coin that's just constantly flipping. You can't have one without the other because they are, at their root, the same thing in a different phase.
That changes everything. So to make this idea stick, she starts with the biggest example she can think of.
You have to. You start cosmic. So heaven is yang, earth is yin.
Fire is yang, water is yin.
The sun is yang, which is why, she points out, it's called Tai Yang or Great Yang. The moon is yin.
And that's the moment the light bulb goes on for Kui Lu.
It is. She connects it to the language fortune tellers use, and suddenly this high-minded philosophy is something she recognizes from her everyday life.
And I love Xiang Yin's reaction. She says something like, Buddha preserve us, you finally get it.
Yes. She uses a Buddhist phrase to react to an explanation of a Taoist concept.
Which just shows how blended all these ideas were in daily life. They weren't in separate academic boxes.
Not at all. It was all just part of the cultural air they breathed. So now that Kui Lu gets the big picture, she starts testing it on the small stuff.
The really small stuff. She asks, what about mosquitoes? What about fleas and blades of grass and tiles on the roof?
Does this grand cosmic law really apply to a random brick?
And Jiang Yin says, yes, absolutely. Universally.
Then she gives maybe the best, most memorable example in the whole exchange, the leaf test.
This is so good. She says even a single leaf is divided. The top side, the one facing the sun, is yang.
And the bottom, the side facing the shade, is yin.
It's such a perfect, simple image. You can go outside right now and see that principle in action. It makes the whole thing feel so real.
It does. So they test it on the fan they're holding. Front is yang, back is yin. Then they move on to animals.
Male is yang, female is yin. And this point is, well, it's crucial for what happens next.
It is. But first, they hit the most awkward application of the whole theory. Kui Lu asks if it applies to people.
And Xiang Yin's reaction is so strong, she spits and calls her a vulgar thing.
Right, because taking this into a discussion of, human anatomy or gender is just completely improper for a noblewoman.
Guilu, she's feeling empowered now. She's got this cosmic key, and she uses it to unlock the reality right in front of her.
She does. She just declares it with total confidence. The mistress is Yang.
And the slave is Yin.
And Xiang Yin just laughs and says, very much so.
Wow. I mean, that's a powerful moment, using this universal law to instantly explain and really justify the social hierarchy.
It absolutely is. The master is the active, bright force, and the servant is the passive, subordinate one. It raises a huge question about how philosophy gets used to reinforce power.
Okay, so this whole philosophical framework has just been laid out. And the second it's done, the narrative makes it pay off.
Immediately. They're walking under a rose arbor, and Xiang Yin spots a little glint of gold on the ground.
Guili runs over and picks it up. She calls it a treasure because of its incredible craftsmanship.
And Xiang Yin sees what it is. A golden quillin, a mythical creature. But she notices something really important.
It's bigger. It's more ornate than the one she's already wearing on her own sash.
Right, and she just quietly pockets it. The author has just spent pages setting up a philosophy of necessary pairs, and then, boom, a matching object appears.
This is not a coincidence.
Not even close. It's pure, deliberate foreshadowing.
And then the tension ramps up because Baoyu shows up.
He finds them standing there and asks what they're doing, and Zhang Yin immediately hides the quillin and hustles them inside.
Why hide it?
I think she grasps the significance of it instantly. She knows whose it is, or at least suspects.
And once they're inside, we see why. Baoyu is in a total panic. He's lost something.
He's lost that thing he just got the other day. He's searching everywhere for his golden quillin.
He's clearly devastated. This isn't just some trinket to him.
No, it's deeply personal. And this is where Xiang Yin, who just gave a masterclass on cosmic unity, steps in to restore the balance.
She plays it cool, calls it a mere toy to calm him down, and then the big reveal.
She just playfully tosses it out, and of course, it's his. He's overjoyed.
But the act itself, her finding it and giving it back, is the physical embodiment of the whole conversation they just had.
100%. Remember, male is yang, female is yin. Zhang Yun has her quillin, which is symbolically yin or female. She finds Baoyu's lost one, which is symbolically yang or male.
She literally brings the pair together.